Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into a room most history books try to forget. The year is 1472, and you're waking up on a straw-stuffed mattress that smells like mold and stale sweat. The stone walls around you are damp, and the only light comes from a slit window too high to reach. Your ankles ache from the chill, and there's a crust of dried blood under one of your fingernails. Not yours. Someone else cried here last night. You try not to think about it. This is a municipal brothel in the medieval town of Nordlingen, Germany. It's licensed by the city, enforced by contract, and you're part of its inventory. Not exactly the kind of shift you can call in sick for. And spoiler, you probably won't survive this job long enough to retire. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And as always, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is over there. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your eyes open to the muted gray of dawn. There's no rooster crowing, no clanging church bells, no sound of footsteps rushing to a market stall. Here, mornings begin in silence. The kind of silence that settles in when everyone's too tired or too afraid to speak first. You lie on your side, knees drawn to your chest, bones pressing into the straw through the thin linen sheet beneath you. The blanket, if it can be called that, is stiff from damp and use. One corner is crusted with something dark. You stopped asking what things are a long time ago. Your breath is visible in the air. The room is stone-walled and windowless, save for a small opening high on the wall. Light doesn't pour in. It leaks like a secret. You sit up slowly, trying not to wake the girl sleeping on the pallet across from you. Her name's Elise, or maybe Elsa. Names tend to blur here, and she has a bruise on her cheek the shape of a belt buckle. It wasn't there yesterday. Your shift ended maybe 4 hours ago. The last man smelled like sheep and stale ale. He called you Marjorie, even though that's not your name. You didn't correct him. It's easier that way. The dress you wore last night is in a heap by the door. You paid 2 coppers to rent it back from the keeper. It used to be yours, your real dress, the one your mother helped you hem years ago. When you arrived here, it was taken from you along with everything else, your hair ribbon, your shoes, your dignity. They said you could buy it all back if you worked hard enough. That was 33 clients ago. Your body hurts in the places no one can see. You swing your feet onto the cold stone floor and wince as your toes find a splintered slat in the wood. The bucket in the corner is half full, shared chamber pot for you and 3 others. Someone forgot to empty it last night. The stench curls under the door. Downstairs, you hear the first creak of floorboards. Lionheart is awake. His steps are heavy, slow, deliberate. He always lingers outside the bedrooms for a beat too long, as if sniffing through the wood for weakness. You glance toward your dress and begin the ritual. Rinse your face with water from a chipped ceramic bowl. Pinch your cheeks for color. Tug the sleeves of your chemise to hide the bruises. The mirror is a piece of polished tin nailed to the wall. It shows your face, but not really. There's a smear of something. Dried vomit? Wine? Blood? On the corner. You look away. There's no time for modesty. You squat to relieve yourself in the bucket and pray no one opens the door. Privacy is a memory. Modesty is a lie. You think of Marta, in the room beside yours. She's been coughing for days now, a wet, rattling sound like boots through mud. She has sores on her mouth and a swollen lump under her arm. She asked for rest 3 days ago. Barbara said no. If you can crawl, You can serve, she said, and closed the door behind her. Some girls dream of escape. You don't. You dream of silence. A room with a lock on the inside, a real loaf of bread, maybe a bath that doesn't come with a price tag. They say this place is legal, that it's run under civic management and designed to protect women from danger. That's the funniest thing you've heard in months. Protect women? You're not a woman in this place. You're a coin purse with legs. Last week, a man who reeked of garlic and rot beat Anna when she refused to do something extra. She told Lionheart. He laughed and said, "Be glad he didn't ask for worse." Anna didn't speak for 2 days after that. The city takes a fee from every man who walks through the door. £70 a year in rent, paid to the council just to keep this place open. They pretend not to know how things work. As long as the taxes are paid and the bodies stay quiet, no one asks questions. The door creaks. Door. A key turns in the lock. You hold your breath as it opens. Barbara's face appears. Her hair is pulled tight, her eyes sharper than usual. She doesn't say good morning. She never does. She only says your name, but not your real name, the one they gave you when you arrived. You stand, slowly, and begin to pull on your dress. You don't remember what day it is. The church bell hasn't rung in weeks. You're not allowed to go to Mass anyway. That right is reserved for citizens. You're something else now. Your fingers fumble with the laces. Your hands are shaking. You don't know why. This is just another day. Just another beginning to the same terrible story. And the worst part is, you're not the only one living it. The scent hits you before you reach the stairs. It's not quite rot, not yet, but something sour and slick, like boiled cabbage gone wrong. A pot of food has been left on the hearth overnight again. Someone forgot to stir it, or maybe no one cared. Either way, it's bubbling now, thick and grayish, with a film on top that shifts like skin. The kind of stew that tastes like smoke, salt, and yesterday's regret. And yet, you'll eat it. Not because it's good, but because it's there. Because it's what's been put in front of you. And because it's already been charged to your name. You grip the splintered railing as you descend. Your knees ache. One of your feet is starting to swell again. No shoes, remember? Just linen wraps to keep the floor from burning your soles or cutting them open. You move quietly, careful not to draw attention. It's early, but a few of the other girls are already sitting at the table, heads down, arms folded, waiting for food that won't satisfy. Margaret is there, chewing with her mouth closed, even though her lip is split. Barbell isn't. Not anymore. You haven't said a full sentence to anyone in days. Not because you can't, but because words are expensive. They make noise, and noise draws notice. A wooden bowl is shoved toward you. Inside, a slop of grain that might once have been oats. Maybe barley. Someone's guessed generously and added dried onion for flavor. You fish out a blackened speck. Could be a pebble, could be rat droppings. You decide not to ask. Barbara sits nearby, ledger in hand. Her eyes never leave the page. She doesn't eat with you. She dines privately, on bread with crusts and wine that doesn't smell like vinegar. She eats well because you pay for it. Each bowl of porridge costs 2 dinars. Each mug of sour ale is 4. If you want honey, that's 6. Bread? 1 extra dinar for the crust, 2 more if it's soft. None of this is negotiable. And all of it is deducted from your wages before you ever see a coin. That's how the house keeps you. No chains. Just hunger. The bread you're offered is brown, crusted hard at the edges, still warm in the middle. You're lucky today. Someone paid their bill last night. There's enough to go around, but it still tastes like obligation. Lionheart appears in the doorway, yawning. His belt creaks under the weight of a rusted ring of keys. You know the sound. It wakes you faster than any rooster ever could. He walks like a man who owns the floor beneath him. Because he does. His gaze sweeps the table. He pauses when it lands on you, then smirks. Big girl's out of bed early, he mutters. You keep chewing. You don't smile. Don't speak. He moves on. Across the table, someone shifts in their seat. Elise, maybe, or Anna. Their faces blur in the dimness, in your memory. Only the bruises stay sharp. You think of yesterday. A man arrived drunk, too drunk to walk straight, let alone pay in advance. But Lionheart let him in anyway. He's a regular, he said. He didn't finish. You did. Your ribs still remember his weight. This morning, your name is still on the ledger, but your debt is larger. Why? Because he didn't pay. And since you didn't collect, it's your loss. Barbara explained it gently. You slept in the room, didn't you? That means the wine was yours. The candles yours too. And of course, the man's betting. Yours. 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 They tally every breath you take like it costs something. And maybe it does. You glance toward the fireplace. There's a small box on the mantel, used for coin storage. No one touches it but Barbara. You've imagined what's inside. Not enough to buy freedom. But maybe enough to buy silence, or medicine, or a rope. No one talks about escape. Not really. You've seen what happens when someone tries. There was a girl, Mari, just last month. She hid in the laundry barrel. Thought she'd wait until night, then slip out the side gate. Lionheart found her first. She's not here anymore. No one asks where she went. A bowl clatters to the floor. The room freezes. Elise drops to her knees to pick it up. The sound echoes like a scream. Barbara sighs. That's 2 dinars, she says. Elise doesn't protest. She nods, face flushed, and returns to her seat. Later, she'll do something extra to make up for it. Something she doesn't want to. But something cheaper than breaking a bowl. You take another bite of porridge. It's lukewarm now. Your stomach turns, but you force it down. It's better than being hungry. You remember a time when food was a comfort. Bread from your mother's oven, warm goat's milk, apples stolen from your neighbor's fence. That was before. Before the debts. Before the choices narrowed to one. Now, food is part of the math that keeps you here. You chew, you swallow, and you calculate the cost. The room starts to stir. The others rise one by one. It's time to wash up. Time to line your eyes with soot. Time to paint your lips with crushed berries. Time to smile at men who don't see your name, only your skin. Another day begins, and breakfast is over. The rules here are written on no wall, carved into no plaque, and yet they govern your every breath. Everyone knows them. Everyone follows them, because not knowing, or worse, forgetting, gets you bruised. Or worse. The most important rule: you don't say no. You don't say no to the men who pay, or to the ones who don't. You don't say no when your stomach cramps from the sickness that visits every moon cycle. You don't say no when you're bleeding, when you're dizzy, when you've already served 3 men, and Barbara says, just one more. He's quick. Because if you do say no, there's Lionheart. He doesn't shout. He smiles. And then you wake up, remembering nothing but the feel of a belt across your ribs. You're bleeding this week. Your monthly womanly sickness, as Barbara calls it in front of the clients. She says it like it's a nuisance, something impolite, like a bad odor. You told her once that you needed rest. She raised an eyebrow and asked if you were under contract. You said yes. She told you then. Contract says you work, unless you're dead. She wasn't joking. So you pack a bit of wool between your thighs and say nothing. You try to move a little slower when you walk, to avoid staining the hem of your borrowed dress. You think of asking for an extra cloth. Then remember the last time you asked for anything. Instead, you head to the washroom to prepare for the day. The washroom isn't really a room. It's a corner of the back courtyard with a bucket of water, a cracked basin, and a sliver of broken mirror. You share it with the others. No privacy, no warmth, just a square of sky above you, clouded over today, which means cold hands, cold water, cold everything. The water is brown. You ignore it. You cup some into your palms and splash it on your face, biting back a gasp as the cold sinks into your bones. You rinse your mouth with mint leaves if there are any. There aren't today. You run your fingers through your hair, plaiting it tightly so it doesn't get pulled later. You count the motions. Not because it matters, but because if you don't, you'll start thinking. And thoughts in this place have a price. You remember Elise crying last week after a customer tore her shift. She begged Barbara for a replacement. Barbara said, 3 coins, or keep crying. So Elise borrowed from the house. That means she's not just working for her food and her bed now. She's working off a new loan, with interest. She'll be here forever, just like you, just like everyone. Once you're clean enough, or at least presentable, you wait near the stairs. Clients arrive whenever they please. There is no schedule, no set number, no warning. Sometimes the door stays closed for hours. Other days, it never stops opening. You sit with your hands folded in your lap, back straight, eyes down. You were told on your first day, never look a man in the eye unless he pays for it. You hear voices in the parlor, 2 men laughing, heavy boots across wooden floors, the scent of leather and smoke drifting up the hall. You hope it isn't him again, the one with the scar on his lip. He smells like wet straw and drinks too much. Last time, he left bruises on your thighs and forgot to pay. You had to cover his wine. Barbara said, next time, take the coin before you smile. You didn't smile. You never do. Another rule. You pay for what the customer doesn't. He skips town. You pay. He breaks something. You pay. He stays the night and sleeps through it. You still pay. Sleeping money, they call it. You once joked about that with Anna. If I fall asleep beside myself, do I owe double? She laughed. You both did. Then she got assigned to someone who wanted 3 girls at once and left her bleeding. She didn't laugh again for weeks. Now the parlor quiets. Barbara calls a name. Not yours. Elise stands. Her face is pale. Her steps are slow. You don't envy her, but you feel relief. Temporary, fragile. You breathe out. It's not your turn. Yet. You go to your corner. Check the threadbare ledger pinned to the wall. Your name, well, the name they gave you, has 4 marks beside it. That means you've still got 2 owed from yesterday. You wonder who it'll be. You wonder if he'll smell. You wonder if he'll speak to you like you're a person or like you're a door to walk through. But mostly, you wonder how much longer you can keep saying yes to everything and still stay yourself. Because that's the thing no one tells you, not even Barbara. It's not the bruises or the debt or the cold that breaks you. It's the yes, over and over. Until one day, you forget what no sounded like. Until you look in that broken tin mirror and see a stranger who doesn't flinch anymore, who doesn't cry, who doesn't ask for anything, not even mercy, not even rest, just warmth. maybe, and a day without visitors. But that day never comes. There's a sound you begin to recognize in a place like this. Not the groan of floorboards or the slam of shutters in the wind, not the mutter of drunk men in the hallway, or even the dull rhythm of bedposts against stone. No, it's softer, quieter, a sound that doesn't want to be heard. It's the sound of someone trying not to cry. You hear it now, faint, behind the thin wooden wall to your left, muffled by straw and stone. A hitch in the breath, a rustle of cloth, the tiniest gasp, then silence, then again. Els. You know it's her. You share the wall. You share the stories that aren't supposed to be spoken aloud. You share, too, the bruises. Though hers seem to be spreading faster these days, she's the one who never used to flinch. When you first arrived here, she helped you clean up your legs after your first night. She didn't speak much, but she handed you the basin and whispered, "You'll stop shaking eventually." You didn't believe her. You still don't. Els used to work in the kitchen. She told you so once. Said her hands smelled like onions and grease back then, not men. She'd stir pots, scrub cauldrons, keep the fire going. The brothel was still a cage, but it had back doors, corners to hide in. Then something changed. You suspect it was Barbara? Or maybe Lionheart? Probably both. Whatever promise or lie they used, it worked. One day, Els was gone from the kitchen. The next, she was in a dress like yours. She didn't say much after that, but her eyes said everything. Now she barely speaks at all, and when she does, it's clipped, focused, her jaw set like iron. You don't know who got her pregnant. Could have been anyone. Could have been that merchant from Augsburg, the one with the gold ring and the quiet voice. Could have been the priest who paid double to not be seen, or the drunkard who insisted on no cloth, no questions. When Els began to show, Barbara noticed. You remember the change in her voice, sharp and nasal, suddenly more polite than usual. "Dear, you're looking rounder," she said, tapping Elsa's stomach with a long, pointed fingernail. "We can't have that, can we?" Els didn't answer. She never does when Barbara smiles like that. 2 nights later, Barbara brought her a drink. It looked like wine, smelled of cloves and bitter root. Els drank it without protest. You weren't in the room, but you saw the way she walked the next morning. Bent, slow. Her hands pressed low against her belly. She was sweating through her shift even though it was cold. That was 3 nights ago. Yesterday, the blood came. You saw the rags in the basin. You smelled it under the door. And last night, God help you, you saw the child. It wasn't much larger than a kitten. Skin like wax, lips curled tight. You weren't supposed to see, but you did. Barbara hadn't cleaned the room yet. You brought Els water and walked in without knocking. She was on the bed, gray-faced, shaking. And there it was, on the bench beside her, wrapped in a towel. Still. You didn't scream. You just placed the bucket down. Then you knelt, slowly, and wiped her forehead. She didn't look at you. She just whispered, "Don't tell them," as if she had anything left to lose. But someone else saw. Barbell. She'd been passing with linens and stopped in the doorway. Her eyes locked on the bench, then on you, then back again. No one spoke. That night, she was gone. They sent her to Ulm. No explanation, no goodbyes. And now, this morning, you hear Els trying not to cry. Your hand hovers above the wood. You want to knock. Just once. Let her know someone is still here. But you don't. You can't. The walls in this place don't just hear, they report. Instead, you move to the table in the hallway and pretend to fix your hair. Barbara passes behind you and mutters, "Big day today." We've got visitors. You don't ask what kind. You never do. Because visitors could mean anyone. Merchant guild men, soldiers, clergy, even city officials. And you know what that means. Clean floors, sour wine poured into clean jugs, girls in dresses that no longer smell like the last man who touched them. And smiles. So many smiles. Barbara enters Elsa's room an hour later. You hear the hushed tones, then her sharp voice rising. "Get up," she says. "The bleeding's over. You've had your rest." Else says nothing. You picture her sitting there, pale, legs pressed together, arms folded like stone. "I'll beat you bloody," Barbara snaps. "Don't think I won't." There's a pause. Then a chair scrapes, footsteps, and the sound of the wash basin tipping. You close your eyes. That evening, you all gather for dinner, if it can be called that. The same stew, reheated. The same bread, harder than before. But there's one empty seat. Elsa's gone. Barbara pretends to look for her. She claps her hands twice and says, "Where's that girl off to now?" With a little smile, like she's hosting a tea party. But you know better. Because before she left, you saw Else whispering to Margaret. And Margaret was writing something down. Tonight, no one speaks. Not because you don't want to, but because the walls are listening. And something is about to change. You don't know what, but you feel it. In your bones, in the silence. In the fact that for the first time in months, Els is no longer here. The story spreads like mold, quiet, persistent, and impossible to scrub away. At first, it's just a glance. Someone mutters, "Did you hear?" beneath their breath while ladling stew into a chipped bowl. Then a half sentence passed down the hallway. Then silence again, as Barbara rounds the corner with her ledger tucked under one arm like a prayer book. The girls know. They always do. No one says Elsa's name out loud, but everyone is saying it in their heads. You see it in the way Margaret keeps wringing her hands, knuckles red and raw, in how Elise stares into her cup and doesn't drink, in how even Lionheart, who normally swaggers through the house like he built it stone by stone, has started pacing a little too fast, snapping a little too loud, smiling a little too wide. Something's cracked. The men who visit this week notice it too. One asks why his usual girl is gone. Barbara says she's ill. Another one complains that the rooms smell different, that the stew is worse than usual, that someone's watching. He's not wrong, because people are watching. The rumor's grown legs and walked into the street. You hear it first from Marta, who hears it from a merchant, who hears it from his wife's laundress. Word has reached the council, the one upstairs, the one with robes and rings, and the power to do more than just slap your wrists. Two men arrive the next morning. They don't knock. They don't smile. They walk in like they've been here before, which means they have. You know that kind of walk. Officials, probably from the council chamber near the market square. Their boots are clean, their beards oiled, their eyes sharp. Barbara meets them in the parlor. Lionheart stands behind her, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. No one is supposed to listen. But you do. You press your ear against the cracked plaster wall between the kitchen and the parlor and breathe through your mouth. "We've heard troubling things," one man says. His voice is steady, not cruel, just controlled. Barbara says something about jealous girls, about gossip, about women with wild imaginations and no loyalty. The men say they'll be back, with questions, and maybe someone else. When they leave, the air changes, not just in the parlor, everywhere. Lionheart slams a door. Barbara throws a jug. The girls go still, and then it happens. You're in the dining room when Lionheart storms in. He doesn't shout your name. He doesn't shout any name. He shouts, "Where is she?" Everyone knows who she is. You stare at your bowl, half full, gone cold. You don't move. Lionheart finds Els in the corner. She's come back somehow. You don't know when. You don't know how. One moment she wasn't here, and the next, she's standing in the doorway like a ghost. She doesn't cower. Not this time. He grabs her by the arm and drags her forward. You see her stumble. She's still pale, still weak, but her jaw is tight. He shouts in her face, "You want to talk? You want to lie?" And then he hits her. It's quick, brutal. A fist to the side of her face. She staggers, but doesn't fall. He lifts his arm again, but she speaks, loud, clear. "You'll have to cut off my arms and legs before I stay silent." Everyone hears it. Even the girls upstairs. Even the drunk in room 3. Even Barbara. And for a second, the whole house goes still. You don't breathe. No one does. Els stands there, swaying slightly, a bruise blooming across her cheek like a dark flower. But she's standing. Lionheart doesn't hit her again. Not right then, not with everyone watching. He walks out. Barbara follows. And Els? She looks around. Right at you, right at Margaret, right at Marta, still coughing in the doorway. She doesn't say anything else. She doesn't have to. That night, it's quiet. Not the normal, heavy quiet, but a strange kind. Like the air is waiting. Els is gone again by morning. But this time, not alone. You hear it from Margaret. She found a way out. Barbara and Lionheart tried to make a deal. They told her, "Stay quiet. We'll forgive your debt. You can go. We'll tell the others you ran." And she said yes. She played their game. She let them think they won. Barbara even made a show of it, wandering the house, asking where Els went, clucking her tongue like a worried hen. She even asked you. You shrugged, said you didn't know. But you did. Els told Margaret the whole plan the night before, told her everything, names, times, what happened in the room, what was in the drink, what Barbara said when the blood came, everything. And now there's no stopping it. Because Margaret has gone to the council too. Because Anna says she'll testify. Because the others are whispering, not with fear, but with purpose. And you? You keep your eyes low, your voice soft. But inside, something shifts. Something slow. Something you thought was gone. You don't know if it's hope. Not yet. But it's close. They come back 3 days later. But this time, they don't arrive quietly. You hear the clatter of hooves on cobblestones, the jingle of bridles, the knock of boots on the step. Too many for a customer. Too deliberate for a delivery. They don't bother knocking now, and Barbara doesn't rush to greet them. The council has come to investigate. Not just the whispers, not just the blood, not just the girl who vanished in the night. No, this time, they come for all of it. 2 officials, 1 scribe, and a small, wiry man with a jaw set like a carpenter's clamp. You don't know his name, but someone calls him Schreiber. Not a title of kindness. It means he writes everything. And today, he's here to write the brothel down. The girls are gathered in the great room like sheep before counting. Margaret stands a little straighter than usual. Anna's hands tremble. Marta coughs and blinks like she doesn't know what's happening. You've never seen so many people in this room without someone laughing cruelly or groaning drunk. The questions come slow, patient, as if they already know the answers and are just waiting for someone to confirm them. They ask about Els, about the pregnancy, the drink, the child, the bleeding, and the bruises. Margaret speaks first. Her voice doesn't crack. Her hands don't shake. She says what she saw, how she was told to be quiet, how Els had confided in her before disappearing into the early hours. Then Anna speaks. Her story is nearly identical. The scribes write everything down with long strokes of their quill, the scratching sound like a saw against green wood. You sit silent at first, but your hands are clenched in your lap, not with fear, with memory. You remember the way Els pressed her forehead against yours the night before she vanished, the way she whispered, "If I go, promise you'll tell it like it happened." And so, when they ask for more, when the man with the clamped jaw nods at you, you stand. Your knees ache, your stomach coils, but you speak. You tell them about the beating, about the way Lionheart would slam girls into walls, about the belts, about the whip, about the time he made Marta crawl across broken glass just to get to the wash basin. You tell them about Barbara too, how she smiled when she passed out that foul-smelling wine, how she hissed, "Don't waste the bedding," after the miscarriage. You don't cry. You thought you would, but you're too tired for tears. Other girls speak after you. Elise, Marta. Even the new girl, barely 16 and already learning how to lie to survive, manages a word or two before choking up. They speak of the food, of how the stew always tasted of rust and mold, of how it was sold back to them for more than they earned in a night, of how Barbara would threaten to take their skirts if they couldn't pay, of how they weren't allowed bread on days when they bled. One girl says, "I had to beg for a cloth." Another adds, "I was made to serve men on Easter Sunday." Someone whispers, "I haven't seen Mass in 5 years." The man with the clamp jaw nods, slowly. Schreiber scribbles faster. And still, Barbara says nothing. She sits on her stool by the hearth, hands folded neatly, face hard as plaster. Lionheart is red-faced, pacing, muttering. But it doesn't matter. They're not in charge anymore. By sundown, the questioning is done. They don't drag Barbara away in chains. Not yet. But they do something worse. They stand her in front of everyone, clients, girls, councilmen, and strangers alike, and tell her the penalty. She is to be branded for the crime of aborting a child by force, a soul lost at 20 weeks. In the eyes of the church, the child had a soul. In the eyes of the city, Els had been robbed of something eternal. You don't watch the branding, you hear it, the hiss, the sharp, short scream, the smell of cooked skin. Barbara doesn't faint, she doesn't cry, but she will wear that mark for the rest of her life. Lionheart is banished, forbidden to own property in Nordlingen again, forbidden to manage a business, forbidden even to enter the city walls. He spits at the floor when they tell him. Then they're gone, just like that. The councilman, the scribes, the Schreiber with his tight jaw and quiet steps. They leave behind only silence and the scent of burned flesh. The girls stand frozen for a while, unsure of what to do, what to say. You look at Margaret. She looks at you. Then she says, "She did it." And you know she means Els, because it wasn't the officials, wasn't the council. It was a girl with nothing left but the truth and the guts to speak it. That night, no one is assigned to clients. No one is sent upstairs. You eat bread and stew in peace for once. And when you return to your bed, it smells like nothing at all, just straw and air. You lie on your back and stare at the ceiling. You don't feel free. Not yet, but you feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Stillness. And that's something. They say, when the devil leaves a place, he doesn't slam the door. He slips out quietly, leaves the windows open, lets the draft in. That's what it feels like now. Lionheart is gone. Barbara, too. She vanished 2 nights after the branding, packed up what coin she could, limped into the dark, and didn't say goodbye. No one stopped her. No one cried. But the house is still here. The beds still creak. The door still opens. The debt ledger is still nailed to the wall. You're still here. Everyone thought there'd be a change, some miracle. Bread with real crusts, clean bed sheets, a warm bath, maybe. But it doesn't work like that. Even after punishment, the machine keeps running, just with different hands at the levers. Now there's a woman from the city who comes once a week to supervise. She says things like conditions will improve and this is a new chapter. She doesn't make eye contact. She never stays long. The new keeper is a woman named Hilda. Older, softer voiced, but her eyes are cold. You suspect she's seen all this before, maybe from the inside, maybe not. She doesn't hit anyone. She doesn't raise her voice, but she knows the rules, and the rules haven't changed. 1/3 of your earnings still vanish before you touch them. You still pay for food, for wine, for blankets, for soap. You still owe. Only now your debt ledger has a stamp on the bottom. Audited, cleared of abuses. What a comfort. Margaret has become quiet again. She still braids her hair every morning, still helps Marta rinse her mouth when she's too weak to rise, but she doesn't talk much anymore. You think it's not sadness, just quiet survival. Like her voice used up its strength. Anna's taken to pacing. She walks the halls like a ghost, whispering prayers she barely remembers. She told you yesterday that her dreams are all full of rain. No faces, just the sound of water dripping from the rafters. You believe her. Your own dreams have shifted too. You don't wake gasping anymore. Now you wake to silence. And somehow, that's worse. Because before, fear had a shape. Now it's just fog, and the ledger is still there. You glance at it every morning like it's a crucifix. Your name is still near the top, though the ink has faded. You've paid down some of it. You haven't missed a payment in weeks, but the numbers never seem to get smaller. Hilda says it's interest. You say nothing, and yet, something is different. No one says it, but you feel it in the way the girls linger longer at the table after meals, in the way Elise reaches out when Marta coughs, in the way Anna hums again, faint and tuneless but there, in the way you've started keeping track of the days. Because now, there's memory, and memory is dangerous. It means there was a before. It means you might believe in an after. You start thinking about what might come next. Maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Maybe someone will leave. Not in the night, not in a coffin, but walking. Maybe someone will stop counting coins and start counting steps away. You even catch yourself one morning imagining a place. A bakery. A corner stall with a faded red awning. You don't know why. You've never worked in one. But the image sticks. You picture flour on your hands, the smell of yeast and cinnamon, a man asking for a loaf and calling you miss, not girl. It's foolish. You know that. But you let the image stay, because something is happening, not loud, not fast, but real, like a seed in dry soil, starting to crack open. One morning you find Marta curled in the hallway, her breath shallow, her forehead hot. No one moves at first. Then Elise kneels beside her, then Anna, then you. You lift her gently, place her in bed, cover her with your own shawl. No one tells you to. You just do. Hilda watches from the stairwell. She doesn't say a word. That night, you take half your stew to Marta's room. Leave it by her bed. She won't eat it. But the gesture matters. You sit by the window and look out, not at anything in particular, just out. You think of Els. You wonder where she is now. If she found another city, another life, another name. You wonder if she remembers you. You hope she does. And for the first time in months, you do something you didn't expect. You smile. Only a little. Only for a moment. But still, you hear the word whispered in the corners again. Not Els. Not freedom. This time it's sickness. But not the kind that keeps Marta in bed with a damp rag on her forehead. Not the kind cured with sleep or broth or one of Hilda's sour root tonics. This one hides in the blood. The old women in town call it the foreign disease. The men call it the French sickness. The girls call it nothing, because to name it is to make it real. You first notice the signs on Anna. A small sore just above her lip, then another along the inside of her arm. She tries to hide it, of course. Powder, scarf, sleeves pulled long, but you see her scratch. You see the way her shoulders slump under the weight of not knowing what's happening inside her. Then Elise. Then a girl too new for you to know her name. And you feel fine. For now. But your stomach twists each time you see a red spot on your skin. Each night you lie awake, wondering if tomorrow is the day your body starts to turn on you. They don't teach you about these things when you arrive. There's no pamphlet, no lesson, only rumors and fear. Some say it started in Italy, brought over by sailors. Others say it came from the East, God's punishment for sin. The priests blame women, of course. Always women. Always Eve. You've heard the sermons. The sins of the flesh rot the flesh. Spoken by men who once paid coin to taste yours. The hypocrisy stings more than the lesions. One of the younger girls, Birgit, asks Hilda for medicine. Hilda gives her a jar of crushed garlic and vinegar. Birgit screams when she applies it, and the sore doesn't go away, just turns raw, then green, and then it spreads. Someone else suggests mercury. You rub it on your skin, they say. It draws the poison out. You know better. You've seen what happens to the girls who try that. Teeth fall out, gums blacken, skin peels. They don't get better, just quieter, until they're gone. A few of the men have it too, though they pretend they don't. You've seen it in the way they wince when they stand, in the sores on their palms, their lips, their bellies. They still come, still pay, still take. They call it the game, but no one is winning. Marta starts coughing again. This time it's different, deeper. You hold her head while she vomits into a bowl. The liquid is thick, dark. Not blood, not wine. Something in between. You want to scream, but you don't. You whisper a prayer instead, though you don't know who's listening. Later, when you try to sleep, your skin tingles. Phantom sores, phantom pain. You dream of your arms covered in weeping ulcers, of your teeth crumbling, of your breath stinking so bad even the rats flee your corner of the room. You wake to find Elise staring at you. She asks, "Do you think we're being punished?" You blink. What for? She shrugs. For living, maybe. You don't answer. Because maybe she's right. You remember a woman once, years ago, back when you were just a girl walking through the market with your mother. The woman was wild-eyed, wrapped in gray, her hair matted with dirt and leaves. She shouted, "It's in the blood! It's in the bones!" People laughed at her. But you remember now, and you wonder. You wonder how many women have walked this same road, century after century, punished for surviving the only way they could. You wonder if the sickness was always here, if it lives in the buildings, in the ledgers, in the hands of the men who never ask your name. You think of Els again. You wonder if she made it out before it caught her. You hope so. But hope is harder now. You watch Anna's sores get worse. She wraps herself in cloth, drinks water mixed with salt, stops working. No one forces her. Not now. But no one helps her either. They're all afraid. And still the men come. Still the coins change hands. Still the door opens and closes. Hilda says nothing, but you see the worry in her eyes. She boils water now. She burns the sheets. She brings garlic and dried herbs and lays them in piles by every bed. It doesn't help. One night, a client collapses mid-act. He's dead before his boots cool. The girls don't scream. They just step back. Hilda calls someone from the town. They remove the body in a cart. No one asks questions. Not anymore. By now, the ledger on the wall is faded and stained. Your name is still there, but the number beside it hasn't changed. You gave up counting. You gave up bargaining. You gave up believing that things could get better simply because the worst had already happened, because sometimes the worst keeps happening. But you haven't left. You don't know why. Maybe it's because there's no place to go. Or maybe it's because someone has to stay behind, to remember, to bear witness, to speak the names of those no one else will. Els, Barbel, Anna, Marta, Birgit, and the others whose names you never knew. You whisper them to yourself like a rosary, each name a prayer, each breath a defiance, each morning a miracle. You're still here, you're still alive, and maybe, just maybe, that means something. They didn't hold a trial. Not really. Just a declaration, a few scribes, and the thud of a branding iron against Barbara's forehead. The scent of burned skin clung to the house for days. You could taste it in the bread, feel it in the pillow at night. The mark would never fade. 3 crooked lines forged into flesh. Lionheart didn't beg. He spat once, said nothing, and vanished. Banished for life. Not to prison, not to death, just out of sight, which, for men like him, is mercy. And yet the building still stands. Same stone walls, same straw-stuffed mattresses, same cracked wash basin in the courtyard. They didn't burn it down. They didn't close it. They just changed the ink on the ledger and called it reformed. You're still here, but you're not the same. Something shifted the day Els spoke out. Something deeper than rules or punishment. You remember what she said when Lionheart raised his hand. You'll have to cut off my arms and legs before I stay silent. And you believed her. You remember how Barbel whispered, how Margaret listened, how Anna stood trembling but firm. You whisper their names now like a rosary. Barbel, Margaret, Anna, Els, Marta, Birgit. You don't know where they went. Some were cast out. Some vanished in illness. Some may have found new cities, new names. Some may be dust under the floorboards. But they were here. They lived. They touched your life. And tonight you remember them, not as bodies, as people, not as workers, as women. You light a candle and place it near the window, not for God, not for luck, just for memory. You are no longer afraid to say their names aloud. The flame flickers gently in the corner. Its light dances over stone, settles softly on your face, and hums against the old wooden walls like a heartbeat. Outside, the world is still. No footsteps, no keys rattling, just wind brushing gently against the shutters, like breath on your skin. You lie down slowly, letting your body melt into the straw mattress. It's still scratchy. It still smells a bit of mildew. But tonight, it doesn't matter. Your bones are heavy. Your heart is quiet. The ache that used to live in your chest like a coiled spring is softer now. just a thread of warmth where pain used to be. You listened to the stillness. No shouting, no orders barked from the stairs, just the hush of your own thoughts. In your mind, you see the others, not in suffering, not in shadow, but laughing once in the sun, maybe by a stream, maybe with their sleeves rolled up and their bare feet in the mud, not as they were here, but as they were before, or maybe after, maybe in another life. Their names rest on your tongue like a lullaby. And you are not forgotten either. You are not invisible. You are not lost. You are part of something now, remembered. So breathe easy. Let your eyes close. Let the story settle behind your ribs like a warm ember. You've walked through shadow, and now you're in the quiet. No one will take your name tonight. No one will raise a hand. No one will silence you. You've spoken, and now you can sleep. Good night.